Welcome to an introduction to safety for solar photovoltaic systems. This safety section consists of 2 videos each, followed by a multiple choice quiz to make sure you have got the key points for each video. This safety section covers some of the basic safety requirements for PV systems and for workers who install them. The material presented in this section are intended only as an overview and do not present the complete requirements for compliance with installation safety codes or standards, nor does it replace recognized safety training. In part 1, we cover the following items. Identify the various safety hazards associated with both operating and non-operating PV system and components. We list the different types of personal protective equipment, PPE, commonly required for installing and maintaining PV systems. A safe PV system is installed according to applicable building codes and standards. PV installer safety includes consideration for a safe work area, safe use of tools and equipment, safe practices for personal protection, and awareness of safety hazards and how to avoid them. The installation of PV systems involves a number of safety hazards, principally electrical and fall hazards. There are many organizations across the world involved in setting standards for safety for workers and for PV installations. Every country must adhere to the local business rules. Some organizations are, for example, the Ontario Health and Safety Administration, the Workers' Safety Insurance Board, the Ontario Electrical Safety Code Bulletins 50 and 84, the National Electrical Code NFPA 70, and International Code Council. The inspection and approval for PV systems installations is governed by the authority having jurisdiction in accordance with local building codes. Electrical utilities review and approve the interconnection of customer-owned power generations to their electrical systems, which is dictated by public utility commissions and state law. Interconnection requires AHJ approval and usually includes provisions for size, fee, rates, metering, and other requirements as applicable. Hazard assessment and safety training. The employer must provide for frequent and regular inspections of the work areas, materials, and equipment to identify all safety hazards employees may be exposed to. The employer shall instruct each employee in the recognition and avoidance of unsafe conditions and the regulations applicable to his work environment to control or eliminate any hazards or other exposure to illness or injury. Hazard assessment checklists. Use a hazard assessment checklist to document and describe the hazards and sources. For example, electrical, falls and falling objects, impacts, penetrations, heat, or chemical. Then select the appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, when all engineering controls and work practices cannot eliminate the hazards. Protection for the head, the eyes, the face, hands, feet, and other parts of the bodies, and fall arrest equipment. Occupational injuries and illnesses. This is based on local country laws and may vary. Safety authorities require employees to record and report work-related fatalities, injuries, and illnesses. Unless exempt, employees with more than 10 employees must keep injury and illness records. And all employers must report to their local authority any workplace incidents that result in a fatality or the hospitalization of 3 or more employees. Each year in the USA, there are nearly 6,000 workplace fatalities, 50,000 deaths from work-related illnesses, 5.7 million non-fatal work injuries, and injuries alone cost US businesses over $125 billion. In Canada in 2008, there were 937 deaths. That is 2.57 deaths every single day. There were 630 blue-collar Canadians injured in 2003 with WSIB claims. To avoid injury, we use personal protective equipment, PPE, which includes protective clothing, gloves, footwear, helmets, goggles, respirators, aprons or other garments designed to protect workers from injury to the body and by impacts, electrical hazards, heat and chemicals, and other job-related safety hazards. Note, PPE is the last measure of control when worker exposure to the safety hazards cannot be totally eliminated by feasible work practices or engineering controls. That is, PPE is the last measure, not the first. PPE responsibilities. The employer's responsibilities include to assess the workplace for hazards and define PPE requirements, provide PPE, determine when to use it, and provide the PPE training for employees and instructions in the proper use. It's the employee's responsibility to use the PPE in accordance with the training received and other instructions, and to inspect daily and maintain the equipment in a clean and reliable condition. Head protection. The employee shall ensure that each affected employee wears a protective helmet when working in areas where there is a potential for injury to the head from falling objects or exposure to electrical hazards. Type 1 hard hats provide protection from blows only to the top of the head. Type 2 hard hats have a full brim and provide protection from blows to the top or sides of the head. This is the recommended type of hat for PV installers. Hard hat classifications are Class G, General, Class E, Electrical, Class C, Conductive. Type 2, Class E hard hats are recommended for PV installers. Occupational noise exposure. Noise is not a major issue in the installation of PV concerns, but be aware that in some jurisdictions there are limits to the amount of noise allowed. For example, some are some typical requirements. Noise levels above 115 decibels require control measures for any duration, and noise levels likely to exceed 85 decibels, that is if one has to raise their voice to converse with another person 3 feet away, require noise protection. Hearing protection should be used whenever using machinery or power tools with noise levels exceeding 85 decibels, such as drills, saws, compressors, or generators. Eye and face protection. The employee shall ensure that each affected employee uses appropriate eye or face protection when exposed to eye or face hazards from flying particles. Side protection is always required. Molten metals, liquid chemicals, acids or caustic liquids, chemical gases or vapors, or potentially injurious light radiation. Types of eye and face protection include safety glasses, goggles, and face shields. Respiratory protection. When employees are exposed to harmful atmospheres, dust or vapors, the employer shall provide respirators which are applicable and suitable for the purpose intended. Although not generally required, certain tasks related to PV installations may require respiratory protection. Foot protection. The employee shall ensure that each affected employee uses protective footwear when working in areas where there is such a danger of foot injuries due to falling or rolling objects, or objects piercing the sole, and where such employees' feet are exposed to electrical hazards. Protective footwear has many types of specifications. Hand protection. Employers shall select and require employees to use appropriate hand protection where employees' hands are exposed to hazards such as those from skin absorption of harmful substances, severe cuts or lacerations, severe abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, and harmful temperature extremes. Types of gloves vary widely in materials and application, including durable gloves made of mesh, leather, or high-performance materials like Kevlar to protect from cuts, burns, and heats, chemical-resistant rubber gloves to protect from burns and irritation, and electrical insulating gloves for exposure to live voltage. That's the end of part 1. Take the quiz, and when you've completed it, continue with part 2. Thanks for watching.